Hello kids, Captain Hindsight here. The only superhero to arrive after all the damage has already been caused to point out. Yeah, actually, that's pretty obvious. That was all going to happen. You probably should have listened to all those alarm bells. But in the moment when you're just so happy the person who left you high and dry 7 years ago returns to your arms and says, "I ain't going anywhere, Ollie," how can you possibly hear sirens when you're nuzzling into their hoodie?
Remember, you do love wrestling, Punk! You told us you didn't, but I knew you did! Yes!
How can you leave me on like this, Megan? I mean CM Megan. C Megan Punk. CM Punk. Turns out, though, when you look back with Captain Hindsight, a fair few people warned you what could happen. So here's every time wrestlers warned us about CM Punk. I meant CM Punk. Jon Moxley never warned me about getting back with my ex, and I will never forgive him for that. Speaking of, first up, Jon Moxley, twice. While we all know the spiritual main event of All Out 2022 happened in a locker room with a dog, the actual broadcast finished on CM Punk versus Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. This was actually a rematch of Punk's return from injury match a week earlier, where Jon Moxley squashed him in a prelude to All Out. The booking was both heavily questioned at the time and the following year, where Punk, who holds grudges closer to his chest than Mindy's muffins, revealed on an Instagram story he thought the squash idea sucked and that Mox refused to lose to Punk. But before their All Out match on the Go Home episode of Dynamite, Moxley apologized to the Chicago crowd for Punk disappointing them, implying the boys in the back felt the same. He didn't turn out to be what any of us wanted him to be when we welcomed him back into this business, gave him a second chance in the greatest sport in the world. It just didn't work out. Then, in a promo package hyping up Mox versus Punk 2, Moxtradamus laid out another prophecy. You should take the time and really enjoy CM Punk while he's here, because he's not going to be here much longer. Fragile mind, fragile ego, fragile body. Eddie Kingston. The first crack in Punk's AEW cult of personality, though, was made by Mox's long-running frenemy, Eddie Kingston, hinting that not everyone was happy Punk had joined the promotion, particularly those who didn't like him when he was in Ring of Honor in the noughties. On the November 5th episode of Rampage, Kingston called Punk narcissistic and two-faced, telling his personal story that Punk would judge him almost 2 decades before on the indies, and that Punk wasn't welcome in the AEW locker room. Nobody wants you here. They never wanted you here. That whole locker room is afraid to say it, not me. Dave Meltzer confirmed this, reporting on an incident at an IWA Mid-South show in 2004 where Punk chewed Kingston out, calling him and his partner at the time, Blackjack Marciano, fat, lazy, and unsafe. And just in case you're wondering if what Eddie said was just fuel for a pro wrestling storyline, you don't know Eddie. I'm pretty sure everything's real to him, damn it, which he confirmed in an interview with the Wrestling Perspective podcast and to us on the WrestleTalk podcast, where Eddie had this to say.
What is the relationship now with you and CM Punk?
There is none. But Punk, no, we don't like each other. We don't. Because I personally feel, and he knows this, because I say it in the back, and I say I'm a little bit of an instigating prick. You know what I mean? I'll talk about Punk around certain people who I know would run to him. You know what I mean? And be like, you know what, he said this? Because he has his little mold or whatever. But he knows this. Like, I don't think what he's doing right now is him. That is his own act. You know what I mean? I look at him in the eyes, it's all an act. Him hugging Darby, telling Darby, hey man, I'm gonna help you. He don't care. He's doing that because Darby's hot. Let's see how he acts now. After Wednesday. Let's see how he acts now in the locker room. Let's see. This is the first time he had to deal with a setback. Let's see how he acts. This is gonna be cute. I can't wait. I'm going to be there with popcorn.
A conversation that actually led to me switching allegiances to Eddie last year.
Ollie, CM Punk is a hero of yours, right? But now you've gone on this role of CM Punk is your favorite wrestler, but now you're faced with Eddie Kingston, who is also your favorite wrestler.
I hate CM Punk. Eddie Kingston's my favorite wrestler.
My man Oli knows what's up. I love it.
We're best friends. Seth Rollins. With Punk now no longer all elite, it can only mean one thing. CM Punk to WWE confirmed. Not if a lot of top people in that company get their way, though. According to Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful Select, Punk still has major heat with numerous top names in WWE. Sure, we could speculate who those top names are and how one of them might have 3 names all beginning with the letter H. Or we could just watch the interview Seth Rollins did with Wrestling Inc. in January, where he told CM Punk. Philly Phil, stay away. Okay, I'm not going to do a Seth Rollins impression. I apologize. Philly Phil, stay away. Stay away, you cancer. Get away from me forever. Yeah, he's a jerk. Come on, we figured it out over there. We knew it over here. I don't want him back. Go do something else. Bye-bye. See you later. Seth's stance softened somewhat a few weeks later on Covino and Rich, saying, to see kind of what he's done and taken, it's always been about him. I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. There's a place for him, man. He's got a lot to give. I just wish his head was in the right spot. Oh, geez, Hangman Page. Here we go. The one that started it all. A saga that has utterly dominated the last 12 months of wrestling news. Hangman Page's promo on the 25th of May 2022 episode of Dynamite to build his world title defense against Punk a Double or Nothing. Starts out pretty pro-wrestling-y, with Page calling out Punk's hatred, pettiness, and cowardice. So far, so kayfabe, I guess. I think that's okay. But then Hangman starts making the first references to the locker room not liking Punk since Kingston's promo 7 months before, saying, I have no respect for you and what you've done since you've gotten here, and then seemingly references the then unknown backstage situation with Colt Cabana. You talk a big game about workers' rights, well, you've shown the exact opposite since you've gotten here. I will not be defending this championship against you. No, I will be defending all elite wrestling from you. It came off as weird at the time because Hangman and Page were both faces going into their feud. Page's words were reportedly off script, which Punk would sit on until the summer to explode at the all-out media scrum over a muffin. Triple H. Actually, we can totally include Triple H in those top WWE names that don't like Punk too. Because a whole decade before he started clashing with people backstage in AEW, he was clashing backstage with people in WWE. In retrospect, when you listen to a certain Triple H promo from an August 2011 SmackDown, his words have a different weight than when they did back in the day. At the time, Hunter had clunkily inserted both himself and Kevin Nash into what should have been the WWE version of the Summer of Punk. Punk was fighting for change in the company, but Trips claimed that was actually for ulterior motives. But when you talk about being the catalyst for change, really, what you mean is you will only accept change if it means CM Punk is on top. Because unless CM Punk is the guy, the man, that's not enough change for you. Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He's better than me, I know it. CM Punk's greatest rival in AEW was MJF. They had my personal favourite storyline in modern wrestling, and I'm absolutely gutted I likely won't see them get to tell another chapter. Aside from the excellent Revolution 2022 dog collar match, the first installment was MJF not just beating Punk once in Chicago, but twice on the same night with a fantastic heel false finish. The following week, Max cut a promo to the Cleveland, Ohio Dynamite crowd that Punk would find being beaten in his hometown so devastating, his mask would fall. You people will finally get to see the real CM Punk. The CM Punk who lashes out when things don't go his way. The CM Punk who blames all his failures on everybody else except himself. Which is, yeah, that's kind of exactly what happened. The all-out media scrum shoot, his Instagram rant against Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho, the shade thrown at Hangman Page off air at the August 12th collision, and Jack Perry using real glass. Ryan Nemeth. Captain Hindsight here again to tell you. Dealing with Punk's backstage clashes by giving him his own TV show and splitting the rosters wasn't going to work in the long term. One victim of Punk drafting his own roster was Ryan Nemeth. Following Punk calling the fans' favourite wrestlers soft in his AEW return promo on Collision, Nemeth tweeted, literally the softest man alive. Punk reportedly confronted Nemeth about this tweet on the following week's edition of Dynamite from Chicago, for Fightful to report Nemeth was removed from the August 12th episode of Collision, which just so happens to be Punk's show. PW Torch added that Nemeth feared for his job in the aftermath and completely came off social media to lay low. John Cena. If you told 23-year-old Oli that in just 10 years' time CM Punk would have turned into 2011 John Cena, and I wouldn't just like John Cena, I'd actively love him because of his role as Peacemaker in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, he'd reply, why's James Gunn making movies for DC? That's a whole different box of frogs, young Oli. Don't even go there. I hated John Cena's character in the early teens. He was the worst. Punk was my guy, and he was bringing change to WWE. But after Punk held the title for 300 days, Cena cut a promo saying that our hero had actually sold us a lie. They were fooled into a false claim because change was not ice cream bars, change was not edgy television, change wasn't even new talent. All you meant by "we want change" was make CM Punk a star. And the final one is CM Punk. Yeah, the last wrestler who warned us about CM Punk was CM Punk. In one of the more poorly aged lines of commentary in AEW history, Punk said the following about Jungle Boy Jack Perry on the 15th of September 2021 episode of Dynamite. Let's be honest, Jungle Boy doesn't rub anybody the wrong way. If you've got a problem with Jungle Boy, chances are you're the problem. Of course, it was Punk's backstage altercation with Jungle Boy at All In 2023 that led to his release from AEW a week later. As the man also once said, "Tell me when I'm telling lies." Now go watch Luke and I review every Attitude Era pay-per-view in 3 words or less / fewer with the 3 count. Covering matches up with how Luke lives his life. We're going back to the 90s. We're going to review every single Attitude Era pay-per-view in 3 words or less / fewer.
So, there's a bit